super cool. It has like...
Hey, welcome back to the Math Boys Masterpieces. This one's going to be a travel guide. We took a trip to St. Augustine, and on the way you can see we hit up our first Buc-ee's ever. But I'm going to go over some of the stuff we did in St. Augustine. So if you're going there, first thing to do, make sure you stock up on beaver nuggets, because they're hard to come by. But I'll we drove up and down the A1A, and I got some videos of that, and I got videos of all the stuff we kind of tooled around in St. Augustine and surrounding areas. So I'll go over those things, show you some of them, and tell you a little bit about the coolness that is St. Augustine.
What did you guys do? It wasn't a 14er. This is crazy.
We've been to several other lighthouses around. This is the first one we actually got to climb up. 219 steps to the top of the St. Augustine Lighthouse, built in 1871.
You did it.
I've had paratroopers doing that, and they were being completely serious.
Yeah.
Apparently, we're not high enough.
I think when you're that high, it takes away the reality of it. You know?
Yeah, I won't go to the edge.
In my 40s, they look way better.
Where were we? At the Empire State Building? I did not go.
We drove down to Daytona Beach, the world's most famous beach, and on the way back, we decided to video the A1A drive. It's like a super famous beachfront drive. It goes the Intercoastal Highway up from, I don't know how far south it is, but at least from Daytona Beach on up to Jacksonville. And we videoed the whole entire drive from Daytona Beach to Jacksonville. I broke it up into some smaller parts so you don't have to watch the whole thing, but I thought it was pretty neat to have that. Down here in Daytona Beach side, there's all these giant resorts on the ocean side of it. The ocean's on the right side, I think, throughout the whole drive that we did, because we videoed it going north. But super neat drive. Lots of palm trees, lots of ocean, lots of resorts, and some of them are really giant like these guys. And then some of the funner parts that Kristen liked a lot more was the smaller house parts. And we stopped a lot of places along the way. Here's one of the famous buildings in Old Town St. Augustine, one of the oldest, or the oldest settlement, continuously occupied settlement in the U.S. This is the Lightner Museum. They have lots of stuff on Ponce de Leon in there. We found the Fountain of Youth later. It wasn't in there, but we kept looking for it. There was fountains all over the place. Looked like that somebody pissed off the crows in that one car back there. And Flagler College is that building right there, and that is a super famous college there. It's not,
like these little things
I don't think it's the original like structures out there, but this guy, the old Spanish toppers, those are super cool. And it's a government building now. They have lots of different stuff in there. 1973 was one of the numbers I saw in there, which is my birthday, so obviously it's a super cool place. The statue of Ponce de Leon itself makes me feel younger. What he's looking for. Looking for the sinners. Go get them. Up on their cars. What, this car? Yeah. So this building here is the Cathedral Basilica de St. Augustine. It's a beautiful old historic church. We kind of just went in the yard and checked it out. Close. But if you guys go to St. Augustine, be careful because that church has that guard falcon or the guard hawk or whatever it is up there that will go poop on your car if you're a sinner. So if you're in St. Augustine, don't be sinning. You'll end up with a car that kind of looks a little rougher than when you got there. You got the whole crew here on this sculpture with their little cross hanging out. So be a good person when you go up there, or this guy will make sure you regret it. You didn't spot me yet. What, this car? Another thing that's always fun to do in these old towns is just to go shopping. They have so many shopping areas there, like little indoor shopping, outdoor shopping, and this little hallway with individual stores on the sides of it was pretty neat. But you could shop for days there if you like that kind of stuff. I thought it was kind of fun to explore and check out all these little stores. I got this store that kind of inspired me what to do with our little piano that we found. I'm gonna kind of do some of this stuff to that piano, make it look like it would belong in this shop. And we explored other stores. Some of these outdoor stores, they have some dining and stuff out there, but for sure, walk that little strip down the main street here and check out some of these stores. And then coming up next is the next section of the A1A. After we stopped at the beach at that spot, we kind of started moving up. We were looking for some shark's teeth on the beach there. We didn't find any at that little beach. It was a really narrow beach, but the waves were really big and really pretty. And we just kind of tooled on down and looked at some couple other beaches. We did end up finding some shark's teeth at another beach further up, and I'll let you know when we get to that one. But that was a great one. This part was just for enjoying the sights. All right, there across the street there is one of the main things that you should check out if you go to St. Augustine. The Castillo de San Marcos, one of the old Spanish forts. I guess originally it was a Spanish fort back. It was built in 1670s. Built in 1670s is like the oldest Mason fort that still exists in the U.S. Super neat to tour. It's not too expensive. Just go in there, tool around, look at everything. It's got great views of the area from it. You can see all the old cannons and stuff that are in there. We kind of checked out some of this stuff and some of the history behind it. It was this little room here. It's super cool. It's one of the powder rooms where they stored the
It's crazy, huh?
cannon, the black powder.
Really stuffy.
Had to crawl through that little
So
door to get in there,
up
so not
inside
too
here?
many people went in there. Just
went
me
up?
and this dude.
The powder, you say the powder room. I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But this fort was never breached. Nobody ever was able to. Several times it was attacked and besieged, but nobody ever was able to breach it because the design, the strength was such a tough fort. Yeah, it went through. Originally, it was owned by the Spanish, and the English tried to attack it a couple times, and then eventually the English owned it, and then the U.S. owned it. And of course, when the U.S. owned it, they used it as a prison to imprison the natives who lived in the surrounding area. So we're living up to our history. And then in the 1870s, it's actually used for. There's the lighthouse that we went up back in the St. Augustine lighthouse. Yeah, but in the 1870s, it was used as one of the original settlements for the first settlement for freed slaves. So at least there was that. I mean, maybe it was a fort used for like military stuff, but originally at one point it was used for freed slaves, which is kind of neat. And it seemed pretty huge, pretty tough. Neat thing, kind of shaped like a star. You can look at the pictures of the floor plans of it, I guess, the design of it. It's a really neat design. And these birds like that little dome up there. I like to sit on there. If I was a bird, I'd probably want to sit on there too. And then back, I tried to mix these in amongst the other touristy stuff that we did, but some more stuff on the A1A Intercoastal Highway going up from where we last stopped. And we tried to stop here at I can't remember the name of this, Mazatlan Fort something, another one of the forts that was next to that, Castillo de San Marcos, but the parking lot was so small we went around it twice to try to find a spot, but I was tired of going around it, so we just went back to the place. And you can kind of see where we stayed at our Airbnb. This is right next to the ocean, so this little drive will end up at our Airbnb. This is where the A1A kind of goes into town a little bit, into the kind of the more locally area of St. Augustine, I guess. Less touristy, more local side of it. Over here where we were at, it's still kind of touristy. The whole area is, since it's such an old town, the whole area is kind of touristy, but it was a beautiful spot that we stayed at. Gated community. Another thing we've noticed since being Southerners is the plethoras of old cemeteries that's just all over the place out here. It's like back in the day, everybody wanted to bury all their bodies. I'm kind of glad they don't do that anymore. And all these little seating areas, everything's so green and fauna-y and flora-y. Makes all of our old desert dwellings seem like so different. It's hard to get used to so much green being everywhere and so many birds and life forms being everywhere. Kristen's really nervous to go camping because there's snakes and lizards and bugs and everything everywhere out here. It's not like how it was back in Colorado desert land where, well, I guess we had a bear come up to our camp a couple of times. And she's like, Kristen was face to face with a bear one time when I scared one out of the woods. So I don't know why she's scared of gators. I think a bear versus a gator, a bear could kick a gator's butt. I don't know. We'll have to check that out. Do some science experiments on that one. Bear versus gator. So here's the next stretch of the A1A going from our place down to Old Town, St. Augustine. I'm not sure where this one ends up. Oh, there's the bridge. There's the old Flagler College and the old school buildings. Well, I think this is where we went to the Fountain of Youth. When we actually found the Fountain of Youth, we didn't have to search quite as hard as Ponce de Leon did because they had a giant sign that said Fountain of Youth here. I'm sure they didn't have that when he was looking for it. But we found it. I feel younger already. The Ponce de Leon Museum area is pretty cool. It's a pretty big area, about 11 acres, I think they said. It's got the actual Fountain of Youth there. We took a couple drinks from it. I feel maybe a few years younger. I don't know. I hope it has a longer lasting effect and I keep getting younger over the next few years. But Kristen said the water tasted bad. So be ready for bad tasting Fountain of Youth water if you go there. And they had these peacocks just hanging out. They had a little peanuts you could feed them, and we did that. But I just got to see this one searching for bugs on its own. It was kind of fun watching that. And they had all kinds of stuff. They had an old blacksmith shop that we got to look at. I'm gonna put one of those in the garage. And they had an old wooden ship that somebody had built back in the day. That was pretty neat. They had a bunch of old cannons that were around there. We got to watch them fire a cannon. You'll get to see that. I kind of put a little piece of the actors doing the cannon firing. Here's the blacksmith shop. Look at the size of that bellows. I have to clear out some room in the garage for that thing, but it'll be worth it to have the old school blacksmith shop in the garage. And then this ship was pretty amazing that it still is mostly intact. I'm sure the lines have all been replaced and probably had some maintenance done on some of the wood, but pretty long boat. You can see there in the middle where the little circle thing right here where the mast went in, it goes down into the bottom part of the deck too. And then the mast is actually suspended on the wall over here between the support beams. The darker piece there is the mast and the jib. Pretty neat. You can see all the old original chocks and whatever all those things are called. And then they had a little thing you could climb up to the top of this tower over here. That was kind of fun, climbing up to the top of that and looking out. There's the cannon that they fire. You'll get to see that here in a second. Look at all those cannons they had. It's amazing how rusted out those cast iron cannons are.
Bye, bye.
But pretty neat overall thing. I would say fun to go check it out if you guys are in the area. So another thing to do. And you can walk up and down these paths out into the water. Pretty cool if you want to try to live a few years longer. Something to do.
Looks a lot taller from the ground.
Yeah.
Alright, let's try this again. Yay!
Woo!
I like them. Alright, alright. Who here can tell me what this is called? That's right! Now, I'm going to demonstrate how this works. What you do, you take your foot, you stick in the stirrup like so, and pull the bowstring back. Crossbow is now cocked. Next, you take your bolt, you lay it on the groove. It is now loaded. You'll notice there's no sighting system on this, so I like to focus on the tip of the bolt to help guide me. Alright, here you go.
Wow.
I meant to do that. Alright, let's try this again. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
Yeah, so it took him time. Took about 2 minutes to reload the style cannon. But Pedro Menendez had one here in 1565 or 20 much older cannons. That cannon behind me on the gun deck is a copy of one they would have had in the late 1300s. A breech-charged, muzzle-loaded, 6-pound bombardetta. What does all that mean? Well, that cylinder you see there on the gun deck with the rings on is called a servidor or powder mug. Each cannon can go up to 5 of those, and that's where you actually put the powder and the wine into. Now for the bad news. We are not going to fire a cannonball. Isn't that depressing? Isn't that a big sadness? I'm sad about it too, but there's a couple reasons for it. The first one being, well, this is the only cannonball we have. And the second one is the Coast Guard would really frown at us firing cannonballs over to Villado, and Geronimo and I do not want to go to jail when they dress like this. But if you look closely, you can see the wadding fly out. We're using Spanish moss for the wadding. It's the wadding that gives it the bang. Now I'm going to give him 2 commands. Por España, which means for Spain. Fuego, he will fire the cannon. Children, you need to cover your ears. Anybody doesn't like loud noises, cover your ears. Everybody else, get your device out, hit that record button so you can post this on all your social media applications and make yourself TikTok famous. Listo?
Listo.
All right, guys, here we go.
Por España. Por España. Fuego.
You guys look jumpy out there. Looking jumpy. And instead of 2 pounds of gunpowder, that was only 2 ounces of gunpowder. So imagine how jumpy you would be if there was 2 pounds in there. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here at the Fountain of Youth Archaeological Park. Adios.
And back on the road on the A1A. This is from the Ponce de Leon Fountain of Youth on north, leaving St. Augustine here. And here we're right on the coast again, right next to the ocean. There's a really good restaurant that we went to right on the left here. It's Aunt Kate's Seaside Cafe. It's a fun place. And this is the part that Kristen liked the most, with the littler houses right on the ocean. Lots of them are on stilts. Lots of them were like halfway being remodeled at the time where we were passing them. But it was a crazy thing. I can't imagine trying to get one of those places insured or You're just waiting for the next storm to come knock your place out. And then after this is where the wildlife refuge area, kind of state parky place is at. Starts to get more wild after you pass all the last of these houses. And then it's just this wildness. And I had this car stuck in front of me for a minute. He just had an old tire sitting on the top of his car, not tied down, so he was going real slow. I had to go around that guy. And then we found a nice beach here that's kind of away from everybody, so there's less people on this beach, and it had more. Here's going across the bridge to the beach, across the dunes, I guess. And there was tons of shark teeth and shells on this beach. It's a good place if you're trying to go look for shark teeth. This is the spot to go because it's more out of the way, less people. If you go to one of the beaches in town, it's really populated, so all the shark teeth are going to be already found. You're going to have a harder time finding them. But up here we had quite a haul. We had met one person there who kind of showed us the ropes on how to find the shark's teeth, look for what to look for, where to find them most likely. And we did pretty good finding them. We went twice. Kristen found more the first time, and I found more the second time, but we got quite the little haul of shark's teeth. And on our way back, we saw some guys doing a parasailing, I guess. They had the little fan hooked to their back, and they were going up the coast on their paraglider machines. It was pretty crazy. I can't imagine being that close to the ground. You'll see how close they were. They were like just a few feet away from the ground. Look how sparsely populated this beach is. And this is a pretty nice day. It was warm and not windy. Not many people on there, so you kind of have the place to do your searching on your own. If you want to find some fossilized shark teeth, this is a place to come. And it's a fun drive up to it on the A1A. It's beautiful. You get to see the whole stretch of the coast. There's just one more section of the A1A drive that's coming up next. Alright, here's some of the shark's teeth that we found on this beach. Nice group of them. Those white ones were not found on the beach, but all the black ones, the fossilized ones, we found right there. There's that guy. Look how close he is to the ground. Crazy. And we saw another one as we were leaving. We heard him, and we got a little shot of him going over the dunes on the way out. And then we got back in the car and headed back out towards Fort Lauderdale. And this was the last little section. This is where the giant expensive mansion houses were. We looked at them on the real estate. Some of them were like millions of dollars, $8 million, $9 million houses. So we're probably going to skip buying one of those. We'll stick with what we have. This is the last section of the A1A that we did. You can do however much you want on your trip to St. Augustine or up the A1A. I would say do some of it at least, because it's a pretty neat little drive. You can stop at some beaches. You can stop at some restaurants on the way. You can stop at wherever you want to stop. It's your trip. You do it the way you want to. If you like doing the historical stuff, there's lots of museums in St. Augustine. We like doing the museums, but not standing and reading all the little boxes with all the information. If you're one of those people, do that. Do how you want to do it. And this is in Fort Lauderdale. It's kind of the end of the A1A going north anyway. I think it goes south a lot further. But I think Fort Lauderdale is about as north as it goes. Alright, the next little section we stopped and had lunch here and then headed home after that. The whole long 2.5 hour drive back to Bluffton from Fort Lauderdale. And here's the night lights in the holiday season in St. Augustine. It's a pretty neat thing to see. So check these out as I say goodbye for today. Bye bye.